Most B2B marketers are obsessed with leads, conversions, bottom of funnel metrics, and it makes sense. That's where the revenue shows up, right? But here's something that might sting a little. Only 5% of your potential buyers are actually ready to buy right now. The other 95%, they're not ignoring your ads because your creative is bad or your targeting is off. They're ignoring you because they simply don't need you yet. They're not thinking about the problem you solve, and no amount of retargeting is going to change that. But these people will buy eventually, maybe in 6 months, maybe in 2 years. And when they do, they're going to pick from a mental shortlist of brands they already know and trust. So the question is, are you on that list? As you probably guessed from the title, what I'm describing here is brand awareness. I'm breaking down how it actually works, why most companies miss the mark on it, and a framework for making sure you are the brand buyers think of first, not just the brand running the most ads or spinning your wheels on marketing activities. So let's talk about this 95-5 rule. Because it kind of floored me when I first discovered it. This comes from original research done by the LinkedIn B2B Institute. At any given moment, only about 5% of your potential buyers are actively in the market for what you sell. These are the people researching solutions, comparing vendors, ready to have a sales conversation. The other 95% will buy eventually, just not today. Maybe not this quarter, maybe not even this year, but at some point, something changes. They get a new mandate from leadership, their current tool falls apart, or they finally get budget approved. Now here's why this matters. Most B2B marketing is built entirely around that 5%. I mean, think about it. Performance ads, retargeting, lead gen forms, demo requests, even a lot of SEO, all designed to capture people who are already looking. And that's not wrong. You need to capture demand. But it means you and every single competitor are fighting over a tiny slice of the market. Meanwhile, the 95% are out there forming opinions, hearing about brands from peers, and building a mental shortlist of companies I'd talk to if I ever needed this. And here's the kicker. According to LinkedIn's research, 86% of B2B buyers already have a shortlist of 3 to 4 vendors before they even start the buying process, before they Google anything, before they fill out a demo form. They already know who they're going to talk to. So if you're not on that shortlist, you're not competing. You're playing catch up against brands that did the work months, years, or even decades before the buyer was ever in market. You've probably caught on by this point that brand awareness is very much a long-term play, but it's never too late to start. The best time to prioritize brand awareness is 10 years ago, but the second best time is right now. Speaking of the term brand awareness, it's one of those ideas that gets thrown around so loosely, it's almost lost all meaning. When most marketers hear brand awareness, they think top of funnel, spray and pray, throw some display ads out there and hope something sticks. And that's not it. Liam Maroney, who runs a B2B brand consultancy called Storybook Marketing, makes this point really well. He argues that brand awareness isn't a checkbox at the top of your funnel. The goal isn't to get people to do something, it's to get them to remember something. The problem is that most people simply ignore everything that isn't relevant to them. Think about your own experience. How many B2B ads did you scroll past this week without registering a single one? Dozens? Hundreds? After a while, it just becomes wallpaper on our feeds. So what is brand awareness really? It's not just, have they heard of you? It's, do they think of you when they have a problem to solve? That's the difference between recognition and recall. Recognition is, oh yeah, I've seen that name before. Recall is, we need to fix our onboarding process. Let's talk to those guys. The LinkedIn B2B Institute actually breaks this into 3 stages. Basic brand awareness, they recognize your name. Brand salience, they think of you in a buying situation. And brand fame, they think of you first. You are the Apple or brand salience in a buying situation. Most companies are stuck somewhere between stages 1 and 2. Brand awareness is built through patterns and associations that go way beyond a brand guidelines PDF. It's the visual shortcuts, the repeated experiences, the gut feeling, really, of, I know these guys. And it takes real, sustained effort to build. So if brand awareness is about being the name buyers already know and trust before they ever start shopping, how do you actually build that? Well, I think it starts with understanding where most companies go wrong. A lot of companies think they're building brand awareness, but I see three big mistakes over and over. The first is relying on your website alone to do all the heavy lifting. Creating quality content on your site still matters. It matters for traditional SEO, for AI visibility, and for people evaluating you in research mode. But that content, even the top of funnel stuff, is mostly serving people who are already looking for answers, the 5%. The mistake is thinking that it's also building brand awareness with the other 95%. Brand awareness requires meeting people where they already are, not waiting for them to come find you. The second mistake is cookie cutter content. 91% of B2B companies say they're doing content marketing, and most of it looks exactly the same. When everyone's using the same AI tools with the same inputs, you get the same outputs. Everything blends together. The differentiator now is unique experience, original research, a genuine point of view that couldn't have come from anyone else. Third, hyper-targeting only decision makers. Now, this feels smart, right? But B2B purchases are made by committees, not individuals. There's the champion who finds you, the end users, the finance person, the executive who gives the final nod. If the only person who's ever heard of you is the one person you targeted, you've got a problem. Because when they bring your name into an internal meeting and everyone else goes, "Who?" That's friction. Some spillage outside your ideal buyer persona isn't waste. It's building the kind of broad awareness that makes deals easier to close. The fourth mistake is not liking this video and sharing it with one of your team members. If you appreciate the knowledge we're giving you to help your growth, we'd love it if you took that small step to help our growth. Thanks. So anyway, 3 mistakes: leaning on your website alone, blending in with generic content, and targeting too narrowly. Now let's talk about what to do instead. I want to give you a framework with 4 pillars. Now, these aren't sequential steps, one after the other. They work together. Think of them as 4 things that all need to be true at the same time: positioning, emotion, distinctive assets, and reach. Let's start with pillar number 1. Nail your differentiated value. If you don't know what makes you genuinely different, nothing else matters. You'll just be building awareness around a brand that sounds like everyone else. The problem I see constantly is companies leading with features. We've got AI-powered analytics. Cool. So does everyone else. April Dunford, a master of brand positioning for B2B companies, likes to apply the so what test to help brands find their differentiated value. You list the things you have that competitors genuinely don't. Then you keep asking, so what? Until you land on actual business value. Her example: a sales enablement company called Level Jump was built natively inside Salesforce. So what? You could connect training to sales outcomes. So what? You could prove whether training moved the needle on deals. So what? You could tie training investment directly to revenue and show the CFO exactly what they're getting. That is the differentiated value. Not built inside Salesforce. That's a feature. The value is proving training ROI in a way nobody else can. And don't let marketing figure out positioning alone. April's really emphatic about this. You need sales, product, and leadership in the room. When marketing owns positioning in isolation, you end up with messaging that sounds great on a website, but sales never uses. To dive deeper on the psychology of positioning, I highly recommend checking out April's books, Sales Pitch, and Obviously Awesome. Pillar number 2 is to lead with emotion. Now, I don't know who decided that B2B marketing had to be so stuffy and formal and buttoned up and we're business marketers, we're serious. But it seems that, thankfully, modern B2B marketers are slowly deconstructing that notion. B2B marketing has this deeply ingrained habit of leading with specs and statistics and features, as I talked about just a second ago. Very rational, very logical, very forgettable. Yes, the stakes are high, we want to be professional, but these buying decisions are made by human beings, humans who are stressed about making the wrong choice and don't have time to do a deep, rational analysis of every vendor. LinkedIn found that emotional B2B strategies drive 7 times more long-term business effects than rational messaging. 7 times. That's not marginal. That's fundamentally different. Gong is a great example in B2B right now. Their CMO, Udi Ledergor, didn't study other sales tech companies when building their brand. He studied beer commercials. He asked, why can't B2B feel like this? So they threw out the stock photography. They put real employees in their marketing, and they built a voice that felt human in a category full of stiff corporate messaging. For their 2022 Super Bowl ad, they dialed up the goofiness to 11, having a host list off a series of features and benefits only to be drowned out by his team's sales gongs. It's like Gong is poking fun at the B2B SaaS industry's obsession with feature lists by making it completely unintelligible. I actually laughed out loud at this part, not gonna lie. And I know we don't all have Super Bowl ad money, but that's no excuse not to be creative. I'll get to this later in the video. Pillar number 3 is to build distinctive brand assets. Now here's a question. If you covered up your logo, would people still know your content is yours? For most B2B companies, the honest answer is no. Distinctive brand assets, visual patterns, audio cues, design language, do a huge amount of the heavy lifting for brand awareness, and you don't need a massive budget. When Gong was building their brand, Udi Ledergor's team made a checklist of everything their competitors' websites had. They noticed every single one used the same muted palette. A teammate called it Series A blues, which is hilarious. This dude can't stop trolling SaaS companies. So Gong went with bold pinks and purples, created a bulldog mascot named Bruno, and got their entire team to use the Gong purple gradient on their LinkedIn profiles. Employees were wearing brand colors online like fans wearing team jerseys. Another one is Perplexity, with their teal color palette, asterisk logo, and vintage-inspired poster art that makes an AI search engine feel more like a design magazine. Fun fact, the Perplexity team told their design agency that they wanted the brand to feel like a Scandinavian subway system, and their visual team drew inspiration from 80s and 90s Apple ads. Pretty cool. Distinctive assets are built through repetition over time. A color, an emoji, a mascot, a quirky voice. Pick something, commit to it, and don't stop. Pillar number 4 is to be everywhere they're looking. Now here's the reality of brand awareness in 2026. People don't search the way they used to. They're not just on Google anymore. They're asking ChatGPT for recommendations. They're searching on YouTube. They're scrolling LinkedIn, listening to podcasts, reading newsletters. The discovery journey is completely fragmented. Side note, this is what makes consistent customer journey mapping so challenging, but that's a topic for another video. This means if your brand only shows up in one channel, you're invisible to most of the market. You need a multi-channel presence, not because it's a buzzword, but because 95% is scattered across a dozen different platforms, and they need to encounter your brand in multiple places before it sticks. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, Matt, I'm a team of 3. I can barely keep up with one channel. You want me to be on all of them? No, I don't. And this is why I said multi-channel and not omni-channel, which literally in Latin means all. And I don't think that's realistic for most teams. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be in the right 2 or 3 places where your audience actually hangs out. For most B2B companies, that's probably LinkedIn, your blog or website, and one additional channel. Maybe YouTube, I'd recommend that. Maybe a podcast, maybe a newsletter. Pick the ones where your buyers spend time and go deep on those. And I know that even this workload might seem overwhelming, but you don't need unique content for every channel. And this is why I'm so bullish on long-form video content for brand awareness. It's got near endless repurposability. One long-form video, like the one you're watching right now, can be transformed into multiple LinkedIn posts, YouTube shorts, a long-form blog post, multiple X articles or X posts, and even content for a newsletter. And while AI tools still aren't perfect when it comes to content creation, they're incredibly helpful when it comes to the tedious work of repurposing. Tools like Opus Clip or Descript can chop a long video into short clips automatically. Claude or ChatGPT can turn a transcript into a LinkedIn post or blog draft in minutes. The repurposing workflow that used to take a full day now takes an hour. Now, some companies take this to another level. Gong ran another Super Bowl ad, this one a year prior in 2021, but only in a regional spot in the San Francisco Bay Area, where their core tech audience watches the game, a fraction of the national cost. Then they amplified it everywhere on social. Prospects called saying, "Saw your commercial, realized you were a big deal." That's multi-channel thinking in action and on a budget. One bold move, amplified across every platform they had. But like I said before, you don't need a Super Bowl spot or even a 5-figure budget. Udi Ledergor turned this into a formula he calls punch above your weight. Pick an offline medium people associate with big advertisers, billboards, TV, print. Buy the smallest, most targeted version. Get creative, then photograph it and share it on your own channels. A $500 Times Square billboard that gets shared on LinkedIn can generate more awareness than the billboard itself. The principle is simple. One channel builds presence. Multiple channels builds awareness. And in a world where your buyer might discover you on a podcast, validate you through an AI search, and finally convert through a Google ad, you can't afford to only be in one place. All right, so here's the question I know is coming. Matt, this all sounds great, but how do I actually measure this? My CEO isn't going to accept, trust me, bro, as a quarterly report. And you're right, brand awareness is hard to measure. It's not like demand gen where you can point to a click, a form fill, a closed deal, but hard doesn't mean impossible. Think of it like a compass, not a GPS. You're looking for directional signals, not perfect attribution. 3 signals I'd track. First, branded search volume. Go into Google Search Console or Google Trends and look at how many people are searching your company name over time. If that number is going up, more people know you exist. It's totally free and probably the most underrated brand metric out there. Second, share of voice. How often does your brand show up in industry conversations compared to competitors? You can track this through social listening tools, simple Google keyword alerts, media monitoring, or just paying attention to whether you're getting mentioned in podcasts, roundups, and peer conversations. Next, how did you hear about us data? Add an open text field to your demo request form. Self-reported attribution is messy, but when you start seeing patterns, saw your CEO on LinkedIn, a colleague mentioned you, etc., those signals tell you where brand awareness is actually coming from. And it's often the channels that don't show up in attribution software at all. Don't let the difficulty of measurement become an excuse for not investing. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make here. By the time someone clicks your ad and fills out a form, brand awareness already did its job probably months ago. Okay, I know we've covered a lot. 4 pillars, real-world examples, measurement signals. It can feel like a lot to take on at once. So here are 3 things you can do this week, not next quarter, this week. 1. Run the so what exercise. Grab your team, write down what makes you different from your competitors, and keep asking, so what, until you land on actual business value. If you can't clearly articulate why you're different in a way your buyer cares about, then nothing on this list will matter. This takes an hour, and honestly, it's a really illuminating exercise. Do it. 2. Check your branded search baseline. Open up Google Search Console or Google Trends right now and look at your branded search volume. Make a note of that number. This is your starting line. If you don't know where you are today, you'll never know if what you're doing is working. 3. Activate your team on LinkedIn. You don't need a formal employee advocacy program or anything like that. Just ask 5 people on your team to post something related to what your company does this week. Share an insight from a customer conversation. Talk about a problem you're solving. If Gong can build 1 million eyeball reach by mobilizing their team, you can start with 5 people and a consistent cadence. It's free, it compounds fast, and it's a win-win because your team can grow their LinkedIn presence, which is never a bad thing. 3 things, all free, all doable now. And if you do them consistently, you'll be ahead of most companies still just running search ads and hoping for the best. If you found this helpful, subscribe to the Backlinko channel. We do deep dives like this on SEO, brand building, content production, and growth strategy. If you want to keep learning and growing your brand, especially in this insanely volatile AI age, be sure to check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and happy ranking.